One little girl had a dream. She dreamed that her mother bought a beautiful black dress. Her mother looked so beautiful in it that the girl thought that when she grew up, she would definitely buy herself a dress like that. But at night, when the girl and her mother went to bed, the dress jumped out of the closet and strangled her mother, and then began to strangle the girl. When the girl woke up, she immediately said to her mother, "Mom, under no circumstances should you buy a black dress." But in the evening, her mother came with the very same black dress that the girl had seen in her dream. "I asked you not to buy a black dress." The girl burst into tears. "But it's not black," objected her mother. "It's dark red." Then the girl took a pair of scissors and, while her mother was cooking dinner, began to cut the dress into small pieces. But no matter how much she cut, the dress grew together and became whole again. Then the girl took a match and set the dress on fire. The dress instantly burst into flames and screamed in pain, like a living person. The burning dress was thrown from side to side, and a fire started in the apartment. The girl barely managed to run out, and the girl's mother was unable to escape the fire and burned to death. While the girl stood on the street in a state of shock, tongues of flame burst out of the apartment window. She felt an invisible force pulling her back into the burning house. Suddenly, among the smoke and fire, she saw the figure of her mother in that very dress. It was no longer dark red, but black, decorated with coal cracks and hot flashes.
Have you gotten rid of me?
Mom whispered, and her voice sounded like the creaking of the wind. The girl screamed, and at that moment the dress rose, enveloping her body like endless tentacles. It quietly whispered the words she had once heard in a dream, promising to make her beautiful, eternal. The dress carried the girl into a dark world, leaving her forever outside of reality. And one day, among the foliage of a dark forest, someone will see two figures, one of which will gradually disappear into the shadows, and the other will remain, vaguely resembling a ghost. One boy, his name was Eric, lost his mother. The last thing she said to the boy was,
"Don't turn off the light and stay away from dark corners."
The boy nodded. He himself tried not to go close to the corners when it got dark. Sometimes it seemed to him that something was moving there in the darkness. Eric's dad moved far away because of a new job, and the boy stayed to live with his grandmother. The grandmother was kind, but very old and saved electricity. She had enough light that came into the house from the street. Right under the windows, there was a large lantern which shone so brightly that you could read a book by the window. But Eric's room was further away and not much light came there, so the corners of the room were always hidden in the darkness. But the boy figured out how to get rid of fear. He put a large toy in each corner, and they, like guards, protected the boy at night. Every time Eric returned from school, he noticed that his grandmother put the toys back in the box, and the first thing she did was put them back in the corners. One day, when he returned from school, the boy noticed that a large plastic crocodile was missing, which he and his mother had bought for him. Eric had not played with his crocodile for a long time, but the crocodile had a big mouth full of teeth, and the boy thought that it would be a good guard. Eric asked his grandmother about the crocodile, but she shrugged and said,
"Clean up your toys after yourself, then they won't go to waste."
After that, every morning the boy began to put the toys back in the box himself, but still, with each new morning, there were fewer and fewer of them. The once full box quickly emptied. The bear with a torn-off paw, which the boy got from his mother, lasted the longest This toy was given to her when she herself was a child. The soldiers fought for a long time. There were many of them, but in the end, there were none left. Eric asked his grandmother to buy new toys, but his grandmother bought the boy a set of racing cars and said that there would be no new toys until the next pension. The racing cars disappeared in 2 nights, and the boy now had nothing to cover the corners of the room with. He made guards out of paper, but they were blown away by the first gust of wind from the window. Eric lay in bed and could not sleep. He tried not to look into the darkness, but he still looked and saw something rolling in the dark corners and heard a quiet rustling as if snake skin was rubbing against each other. The light from the street lamp was barely enough to illuminate the boy's bed. Everything else was covered in impenetrable darkness.
I should have asked my friends from school for toys.
The boy thought. Suddenly, Eric heard a loud creak, then another, and only then did he feel his bed moving. Something in the darkness grabbed the legs of the bed and pulled it towards itself. The boy jumped up and jumped straight into the window. It was summer and the window was open, but the curtains on the windows caught the boy and entangled him like a spider's web an insect. Eric screamed, but no one heard him. Something cold wrapped itself around the boy and pulled him back into the room. The last thing he saw were his little paper guards, who were bravely throwing themselves at something in the dark corner, but their thin paper hands could not harm him. Later, the guards disappeared into the darkness, as if merging with it. The darkness turned out to be hungry and inexorable. It absorbed everything that was in its path. Eric felt how the icy fingers of the gloomy creature pulled him to the corner, in which the darkness seemed to be thickening. He tried to scream, but his voice, as if muffled by the night itself, suddenly died in his throat. The creatures that hid in the dark corners weighed on him with their presence. Their presence was palpable like a cold wind that penetrated to the bones.